The Secrets of Doctor Who is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous supporters. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/donate. You're listening to The Secrets of Doctor Who, episode number 89.
I'm a doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years. I am Scottish. I can complain about things. Shush.
Hi, I'm Don Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Doctor Who, where we discuss everything about the hit BBC series, Doctor Who. Today we're discussing the 10th Doctor story, Smith and Jones, which happens to be the first episode of the third season of New Who, and the introduction of Martha Jones. So joining me today on the panel are Father Cory Sticha. Hi, Father Cory.
How's it going?
And Jimmy Akin. Hi, Jimmy.
Howdy, Dom.
So just to kind of set things in their place, this episode was broadcast in March of 2007. It is the introduction of Martha Jones. The time frame within the story continues to be in the future from when it was broadcast, so it's 2008 within it. And the basic plot is we're introduced to Martha Jones, a medical student, and she goes to work at her hospital. The hospital gets transported to the moon, where space rhinos show up looking for a criminal, and the air is running out, and everyone's lives are in danger, and the Doctor and Martha have to save everyone. That's sort of the basic plot of it.
And the Doctor basically almost dies here, and Martha saves him.
Right, exactly. And so, where do we begin? So,
at the beginning, we have a montage that is meant to be humorous, and I think is fairly effective, of Martha walking along a street, heading down to work, and she's talking on her cell phone to all of the different members of her family who are planning a party, but there are internal family factions because mom and dad are divorced and dad has a new girlfriend, and it's going to be embarrassing if he brings her to the party. And so, family drama.
Right. And I think it effectively establishes that Martha is sort of the steady
peacemaker in her family.
The steady core that everyone comes to. Her parents, in fact, once again, Russell T Davies must have parent issues or mother issues. The mother especially comes off as shrill, and the dad
doesn't come across much better.
Yeah, he comes across as an idiot.
And the mother gets much worse throughout the season. Spoiler.
Yeah. And one interesting thing about the dad, the actor, by the name of Clive Jones. His name is Trevor Laird, who was in the 1986 serial Mind Warp, which was part of the Trial of a Time Lord season. He played a character named Frax.
I don't remember him.
He must have been fairly young at that point in 1986, so that would have been 20 years different. But I saw that online, so that was very interesting. The episode starts without a pre-title sequence teaser, which is interesting. That's the last time that happened in New Who was the first episode with Rose, so that was an interesting difference from other things. And then we have this while Martha is walking on the street to work, she encounters the Doctor, and he's obviously out of order. Up. Yeah, he's worked up, but sort of like out of time order. And of course that gets paid off at the end of the episode as the Doctor's proof that he's a time traveler.
Comes up and dramatically takes off his tie in front of her.
Right. It says something to the effect of, see? Or something. Then Martha gets to work, and she encounters these two fellows in biker dudes, motorcycle helmets and black leather outfits, walking around the hospital, which nobody seems to think is strange at all.
Yeah. And this is post 9/11. It's like
Yeah.
People walking around, you can't see their faces. They look menacing. Someone should say something.
Now, these characters are called slabs. The doctor refers to them as, and they're leather, through and through. They're automatons, shall we say?
Yeah, they're leather robots.
Is this a new thing?
Is new.
Okay,
yeah.
So sort of out of the blue. The doctor has been checked himself into the hospital, and
so we get 2 sudden, unexpected intros of the doctor.
Yep, and Martha is with a group of med students with the doctor who's their instructor, shall we say,
Mr. Stoker.
Yes, Mr. Stoker, and the doctor, kind of talks about some symptoms. And she's having just seen him on the street, and now he's in the hospital. She's like, "Well, you shouldn't have been out walking around." He's like, "What are you talking about?" Because this, this is obviously out of time order. And she says, "Well, was it your brother? Do you have a brother?" And he says, "Not anymore."
Yeah, how about that?
That's an interesting way to say it.
So, the doctor, they previously established in the TV show, the doctor believes his family is dead. And at this point, he believes he's the last of the Time Lords, that all other Gallifreyans are dead. So that would include any brother he may have had. But in the spin-off media, he's got a brother named Braxiatel. So Braxiatel appears in various prose stories and comic stories and Big Finish stories.
Interesting.
And Braxiatel is his older brother.
Okay, so with an actual name, so we maybe the doctor's the real name is something like Braxiatel's name. That there's maybe an X in it somewhere. I just want to imagine it. Anyway.
Maybe
they will never tell us. I was amused that the doctor messes with Martha by letting her hear both of his hearts, which the last time the doctor was in a hospital was when they were trying to operate on the poor man as the what was it, the 7th Doctor, before it became the 8th Doctor. That was a bad scene. This is less so.
And it's interesting they don't bring it up again later in the episode. So Martha apparently in her head as a medical student dismisses this as some kind of weird audio echo in his chest or something, and doesn't interpret this as he's not a human.
Right. She kind of refuses to believe he's an alien, even after they see other aliens, the Jadoon later.
Which sets up a nice moment where we get another just sudden thing that happens unexpectedly as she's disbelieving in the doctor being an alien. All of a sudden, a Jadoon scans him and says, "Not human." And okay, that convinces Martha. Now she knows he's not human.
Right. That's right. So while Martha's on the phone with her sister, she's talking about it raining so terribly at the hospital and don't walk over. The sister's like, "What are you talking about? It's a sunny day." And there's a sequence of events where the hospital is lifted up off its foundation and taken to the moon. And
the rain was going up, which was a nice visual thing.
Yep.
By what would they call a water scoop? I think the doctor called it.
Yeah.
And this is one of those moments where you have to kind of willing suspension of disbelief. If you lifted up a building off its foundation, it would tear apart. Like it would not move. And like they tried to show like ceiling tiles having fallen. But like they'd be giant.
Disintegrate.
Yeah, it would never be able to do this, and it would never be able to just drop it back where it was, because all of the foundation's been destroyed, the utilities, the pipes. They'd have to demolish the building, after they brought it back. But okay, so it's Doctor Who. We're gonna just sort of glide past that part. I did have to question though. So the building's on the moon. They answer why there's atmosphere, because they've created an atmosphere bubble around it. A force field, Yep. Where's the electricity coming from? That's really the question.
They could have given us a line about that. Hospitals typically have backup generators in case of power failures because they have patients on life support and surgeries in progress and things like that.
Isn't those usually in the basement that's still on Earth?
Yeah, well, they ripped up part of the basement.
Okay, all right. Let's go with that explanation.
These are minor fixes. I just need to change the special effect a little bit.
Yes. I have to say one realistic aspect though was the people freaking out. Like there's one, people panic. Everyone panics, but it's the fact that Martha Jones doesn't panic. She's remains calm and in control. Thinks exactly as the doctor puts it. So he's seeing the companion potential in her. Right. He's kind of brutal to the other med student who isn't handling it well. He's like, Martha, you come with me. Her, not her. She'll just hold us up. Yeah. Like, wow, that was tough. They do make a point of Martha remembering all the stuff that's happened in the past few years involving aliens.
Finally.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sort of a contrast to Donna that we just talked about, who didn't notice any of it.
And Amy.
Right. Well, does Amy not remember any of it when she comes in?
Yeah, Amy doesn't remember when the Daleks stole Earth and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, I now remember that. Yes.
Yeah. And they establish on screen that Freema's other character, Adiola, was her cousin at the Battle of Canary Wharf. And the doctor refrains from mentioning that he was the one who killed her cousin by yanking a thing out of her head.
Well, no, he didn't yank it out.
That's right. He didn't yank it out. He did kill her, but someone else yanked it out.
Yes. So that brings us to the Jadoon. Are they a new Who? Is this their first appearance?
They are new Who. This is their first appearance. They, as you mentioned, they're space rhinos. Yep. They serve as kind of a for-hire security agency bounty hunter group. Okay. And they speak in a language, their native language has only one vowel, long O.
Right.
And they only have initial consonants. They never have final consonants on the end of a syllable.
Yes.
So when they talk, it's like bo, jo, ro, go, ho, no, whoa. And it's all that, which to my mind raises the question, why are they called the Jadoon? Because neither of the vowels in Jadoon is a long O, and it's got a final N on the second syllable, so it's a closed syllable. They should be called the Jodo or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Jojo. Maybe that's the way they pronounce it. So, and they're here. They're looking for they're bounty hunters looking for a particular criminal that we find out is Mrs. Finnegan. It was another patient that the med students were talking to, who is apparently a salt vampire.
Blood vampire.
Blood vampire.
She's a plasmavore.
Okay, but she's she had a salt deficiency was the evidence of that. Okay.
Yeah. And she then proceeds to use, and it's another Russell T. Davies creepy old woman thing.
Yep.
And she then uses a straw to exsanguinate Mr. Stoker.
Yes, but that was
a significant name given that Bram Stoker was the author of Dracula.
Right. And now, so the Mr. Stoker, she was referred to as a consultant, and that sent me to Wikipedia to look up British medical system and to the explanation. A consultant in British medical terms is a specialist. So there's someone who is a senior like physician or surgeon who has completed all their specialist training. And so as a specialist, he'd be training medical students who were in that field. They were training to become
interning.
Right. Although they call him Mr. Stoker. And so are they not like I couldn't figure out whether that was a mistake or it's just a difference of the way they address this kind of doctor in Britain.
I don't know. My guess would be maybe I assume since Russell T. Davies is a native speaker of British English that it would be an accurate usage. Mr. and Doctor get used differently in different cultures. Like in some places in Europe, like I think Germany, lawyers, people who have a Juris Doctorate are called doctor.
Right.
Instead of Mr. But here, lawyers are Mr. instead of doctor.
Right.
Also, interestingly, the title in some cultures transfers to spouses. So you'll have Mrs. Dr. So-and-so.
Interesting. I had professors. When I was a student at Franciscan University of Steubenville, there were a married couple who were both professors on staff. And so is Mrs. Dr. Morgan and Mr. Dr. Morgan was how we addressed them. So that helped. Yeah,
it's always like the question of deacons in the Catholic Church. Are the wives of the deacons, are they the Mrs. Deacon or
right? Well, I mean, but speaking of Britain, bishops are often referred to as Dr. So and so as opposed to Bishop so and so. So that's another.
And you'll have the Reverend Mr. and the Reverend Doctor depending on the title.
Right. Yep. Right. In fact, speaking of the title, when Martha asked the doctor, "What's your name?" Because he had given Smith earlier, which kind of goes back to the third Doctor.
Third Doctor, John Smith, he would use as an alias on Earth.
Right. And so when the doctor checked into this hospital, he checked in under the name John Smith again. So he says, "Smith isn't really my name." And she says, "So who are you?" "I'm the doctor." She says, "Oh yeah, me too. Once I finish all my." Which is kind of funny, given that she's actually a doctor too, and she won't accept him just calling himself the doctor, which is a funny little moment. Another kind of throwback to something from before. First we have the Jadoon. They come into the lobby, and everyone in the lobby is kind of standing there, staring out the doors as these troops of Jadoon, these large formations, are coming right at them. But only when they get right to the door do the people panic. Where do you think they're going? They're coming in those doors.
Run and hide.
Yeah, now's not the time to start running. That was about 30 seconds ago. They come in and they quickly absorb English by listening to this one medical student talk for about 10 seconds, which, just is very a fascinating technology.
Well, I mean, that's how the universal translator on Star Trek worked. I mean, it figured it out instantly.
Right. I think in this case, because they already know about Earth, and that's why they take the hospital up to the moon, because they have no jurisdiction on Earth.
Right.
So they need to get it into another place. So they already know about Earth, and what the Jadoon says, if I'm not mistaken, after he analyzes the guy's speech, is language confirmed Earth English.
Okay, so it's more of a confirmation as opposed to absorption.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you mentioned something about the jurisdiction, and that's brings up another interesting part of this is the fact that they don't have jurisdiction is due to the Shadow Proclamation. Which, as originally presented, would make a lot of sense as a document that somebody proclaimed, like the U.S. Constitution is a document. Right.
They later reinterpret it as an organization, kind of a space government, which makes no sense. Why is it called a proclamation if it's a government?
Right.
But in any event, we know that there is someone that's kind of got a prime directive thing going on Earth. You don't go there and just mess around if you're an alien.
To be fair with that, I guess the way I've thought of it is the organization was created out of the document, and they just took on the name of the document as the name of the organization.
Kind of like Section 31 on Star Trek.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's the kind of analogy I was thinking of, because I think we've got things like that today where they're named for the document or the movement that produced them.
That's
so
true.
It's legitimate way of doing it. It does kind of muddle the waters a little bit, but
yeah. Well, and we see the Shadow Proclamation elements stack up later on in later episodes where we see the people from it, and it's
a couple seasons from now,
right? It does seem a bit of a technicality that you evade the jurisdictional problems by grabbing the building and putting it somewhere else. I'm not sure. In an Earth court, that might not fall. You might not get away with that. But maybe
the doctor
in Space
does
Court.
say the Jadoon are a little thick.
So the doctor and Martha kind of spy on the Jadoon coming into the hospital lobby, and we have this funny moment where the doctor sees the gift shop in the lobby, and I love a little shop, which goes back to the episode New Earth with one season prior, the first episode of the prior season, where
and
they went
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say they went to the Earth in a billion years. They went to the cat hospital with. It's a hospital for people run by cats, where he said, "You know what this lobby needs is a little shop." Like,
yeah. And it goes forward to Silence in the Library.
Right, with Donna, they talk about the library having a shop. So I think we know what the Doctor would like to do once he eventually retires. Just have a little shop.
He wants to run a little shop.
Exactly. That the Big Finish will do that. So the Doctor, he uses
Doctor Who and the Shop of Doom.
Yeah, the little shop of horrors.
Little Shop of Doom. Yeah.
The Doctor, he's being chased. He's trying to evade the Jadoon because he knows as an alien, they're going to think he's the alien they're looking for. Apparently, they just know they need an alien, not a particular alien. The Jadoon are, but meanwhile, the Slab are after him because he knows who the real alien they're looking for is, and he goes in an X-ray room and uses the X-ray machine, enhances it by jamming the sonic into it, and 1,000 times of
5,000%. So
yeah, so
50 times stronger.
So everybody in that direction in the hospital is dead.
So he just gave. Think about it. He just gave that slab of walking leather 50 X-rays.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's quite the power. Well, he burns out his sonic doing it, which is kind of fun because that removes that as a device that he can use throughout the rest of this episode. But
we have sonic separation.
Yes, but we also have this moment where he talks about he absorbs the Röntgen radiation.
Yeah. That's the name for X-rays after the guy who discovered them.
Okay, and apparently that this is one of those differences in physiology between humans and Time Lords. He can direct the radiation. His body is absorbed by a few bouncing around and making some gross noises in the back of his throat.
And he gets it down into his shoe and then takes off his shoe and throws it away.
Right. And now barefoot. It throws both shoes away because that would be silly to only walk around in one shoe.
I like while he's explaining to Martha that Röntgen radiation isn't dangerous to him, he says, "We used to play with Röntgen bricks in the nursery."
X-ray and all the little things in the nursery.
Little glimpse into being what it was like to be a time tot.
Time lads. And then, so with the Jadoon, they're not really interested in justice. They're a police force for hire, but they're not a justice force. Are they?
Ostensibly, they are because they convict people, right, and execute sentences on them on the spot. Yeah. So it's drumhead justice, but they are attempting to do justice. They're just a little thick.
A justice without mercy, maybe an example of that.
They give Martha a thing for some kind of space compensation for inconveniencing her.
That's true. Yeah. Whereas the human that they execute. They say because he smashes a jar over someone's head, assault, pleads guilty. Like, when did the guy plead guilty? Okay.
That was where they crossed the line. That's not justice if you don't let the guy make his own plea.
Right, exactly. So the big time, the plot device that's really driving the tension in this episode is the fact that this bubble of air has a finite amount of air in it, and they're running out. There's about 1,000 people in here, and they're running out. And as always happens in science fiction, even when you take it to the very last second, everyone is now passed out from lack of oxygen. Everyone survives as soon as you put the air back in. I mean, we're in
instant.
Instant.
As soon as the air rushes back into the building, they all wake up and everything's good.
Right. They weren't just, oxygen deprived. They were just asleep, apparently. And I'm thinking, this is a hospital. You have people probably who are on the edge of death to begin with. I mean,
lung disease, all kinds of stuff.
You probably killed half the people in the hospital.
Of course, you speak about that, though. What about the oxygen supplies of the hospital? Those usually aren't just a compressor in the basement. They usually have actual oxygen tanks.
Oh, and they show the other medical student who's not Martha and using one of those with an oxygen mask to help a patient.
Yeah, and she makes a remark about there isn't enough to last very long. But even then, it's just it wouldn't be good. Yeah, it would be a massacre in there. They eventually track down the Mrs. Finnegan. There's the whole device where she's going to use the MRI to wipe out all life on Earth.
No, just half of Earth.
Oh, that's right.
Leaving the other half as her little gift.
Exactly. And of course the doctor.
So let's talk about this scene. So the doctor figures out who she is based on what Martha knows, and he kisses Martha, which is going to set up significant issues later. He kisses her, and we don't initially know why, but it's so that he can transfer some genes to her so that when the Jadoon scan her, it will show up as a non-human trace. And in addition to her human physiology.
Right.
And so that will stop them and slow down their investigation, allowing him to get to Mrs. Finnegan in the MRI room. And and I think this is a really nice performance. He pretends to be an ordinary human who's just a patient in the hospital. He's talking about his wife on Earth and stuff and how amazing we're on the moon and there are space rhinos and I came in for bunions. That's why I've got bare feet. And he's doing a con on her to, I guess, find out more. Well, what he's actually trying to do. It's not to find out more about her. It's to get her to drink his blood.
Right.
So he convinces her he's a human. So she drinks his blood. He tells her the Jadoon are starting to scan. They're going to level 2, which is not true. So she thinks she needs more blood to appear human again. So she sucks his blood. He's apparently dangerously low to the point his heart stops. Martha comes in and they do a scan on Mrs. Finnegan, say she's human. Here's a problem. If they could detect doctor spit on Martha's lips because it's not got non-human genes in it and they picked up that as an alien trace, why don't they pick up Mrs. Finnegan's whole body? Yeah. Well, it may have human blood in it, but it ought to be showing a non-human trace.
Right. Well, actually, I mean, I think she was saying that by absorbing his blood, it helps her body. Her body absorbs it. Her whole body will absorb it, and that would mask it. But they don't actually scan her, and they scan. The whole point of the doctor doing this is that she would drink his blood and drink his alien DNA, so that she would show up as alien, on the Jadoon scans.
I get that. But earlier, when they first scanned her, she's an alien with a bunch of human blood in her. They should have shown a mixed trace, just like it showed a mixed trace for Martha.
Right. They probably, there probably should have been. Yeah.
So this time the Jadoon, because they've already cleared her and they're not in fact going to scan level 2, Martha takes the initiative and grabs a Jadoon scanner and shows that Mrs. Finnegan is indeed an alien because she's got the doctor's blood in her now.
Right. Which was his ploy. Apparently, Mrs. Finnegan was charged with the crime of murdering the child princess of Patraval Regency 9, which she says those pink cheeks and blonde curls and that simmering voice.
She deserved it.
She was begging for the bite of a plasma bar. It's so gross. Yeah, that's very dark. And so she's going to, she's still almost going to get away with it. And the
Jadoon disintegrate her.
Right. Because, let's see. Trying to think of, like, there was a series of steps here where Martha, so Florence, Mrs. Finnegan, yes, no, I said series of steps, not Siri activated on that. So thank you, Siri. So it's quality podcasting here, folks. So the MRI gets activated. She's fiddled with it to boost its power. So maybe the Earth is going to get the equivalent of 50 MRIs, just like the 50 X-rays. That should kill all of us, or half of us. And maybe she's Thanos. Anyway, she's going to incinerate everyone, and then the Jadoon managed to fire at her and kill her, incinerate her, and then Martha's got to get the doctor alive again, so she starts performing doctor CPR.
Yeah, you on both hearts and the one mouth.
Right.
And so the Jadoon, she after Mrs. Finnegan is disintegrated, the Jadoon don't care about the fact the MRI is going to kill half the Earth. Mm-hmm. So they start to evacuate, and they needed to do something a little different in the writing here, because they eventually put the hospital back. And that would make sense. But they, if they're not going to fix the scanner, the MRI machine, then they should have told Martha, that's not our problem. We're going to just put the hospital back and be done with it. And they didn't, because otherwise it leaves the audience wondering, well, why don't they put the hospital back? They should at least do that, even if they're going to ignore the MRI machine. But they don't tell us that. And so there's some cognitive dissonance in there until that happens.
That's true. Well, and then there's a very convenient, the doctor's solution to the MRI on overload is unplug it.
Yeah. And they should have played that differently than they did, because they show him, that's the obvious solution, is just unplug the thing. But, anybody could do that.
Yeah.
And that's the element they needed to push. Instead, what they give us is the doctor's fumbling around, and he's having this huge struggle trying to do stuff with it. And finally, he unplugs a cord. And it's not even the cord that goes into the wall. It's just a cord.
Right.
And what they should have done was have him go to the plug in the wall and just yank that out. And it would have been, that's the obvious solution. Anybody could have done that.
Right. Exactly. Which even that wouldn't really work, because that's not how MRIs don't just plug into a wall in the, plug an outlet on the wall. But it's this thing that Doctor Who does, where when the doctor is got to get, hip deep into technology, he piles wires all over himself. Did you ever notice that? He's got wires over his shoulders and over his arms, and that's not how it works. If you're having a problem with a computer wiring, whatever, you don't dive into it physically. It's this weird trope that they keep going back to. I don't know if it's just
it's the bomb with the counter that's counting down to zero, so you know how long you have for the hero to cut the correct wire and stop everything.
Right. Some smart bomb maker is going to make a bomb that doesn't have a visible timer on it, so that the hero has no idea.
The smart bomb maker will make it so it counts down to 10.
Don't worry, we've still got 10 seconds left.
Boom. Yeah.
Or a lot more than 10.
So the hospital is put back where it belongs, to be demolished later. Everyone comes out.
Unsafe structure.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone comes out. Martha connects with her sister Tish. She sees the TARDIS dematerialize, or does she see it actually dematerialize, or just there 1 second?
Gone.
Yeah. So she sees it's there 1 second, gone the next. And then we kind of cut back to family drama. They're coming out of the a pub of some sort, Martha's family, in the midst of a fight. So it's her brother's 21st birthday. This was supposed to be some big event. The dad did bring his ditzy blonde girlfriend, and the mom is very upset about it. And the mom apparently started it. She insulted the girlfriend. I mean, the dad was stupid for bringing the girlfriend, but the mom, apparently they make it very clear that the mom sort of created this situation. And I'm like, man, her family, I don't like her. Like,
no, well, and we're not meant to, because the drama in her family is motive for Martha leaving to travel with the doctor.
Right. And in fact, her mother appears to be overbearing. They show her in subsequent episodes as overbearing. And they all stomp off in different directions. And then Martha sees the doctor at the entrance to an alleyway and goes down to talk to him, in this alley, which is very interesting. So in the last three companion, so in these three companion moments in New Who, the doctor basically, the moment he convinces the young woman to go with him, even with Donna with a very brief travel with him, is when the TARDIS is sitting in an alley and he has to prove that he's a space alien by having her go in and out and do the "it's bigger on the inside" thing. It's very interesting that Russell T Davies kept going back to this sort of this
with
way
variations.
Yeah,
I like how when Martha says it's bigger on the inside, the doctor mouths that, and then says, shocked. "Really, yeah. I hadn't noticed."
A couple other things happen here. We get the medical student Morgenstern, the male medical student, who mentions he's on a radio show interview and mentions Harold Saxon by name.
Yeah. We also see Harold Vote Saxon posters all over the alley.
Right. So we're building up to the return of the Master, Harold Saxon, that's coming at the end of this season. And then
also the medical student, the male medical student, tries to sort of take credit for saving everybody.
Yeah. He's kind of a jerk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And notice, by the way, now, of course, he's a time traveler, so who knows? But the doctor has been so exsanguinated that his heart's stopped. And he's real better real fast without regenerating.
Yeah. Where'd the blood come from?
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, also, Time Lord bone marrow works a lot faster than human bone marrow does.
Apparently.
Yeah. And so at the end, he offers Martha one trip as a thank you, not to become a regular traveling companion.
Of course.
The subject of Rose comes up. He says Rose is with her family. She's fine. And Martha says to the doctor, even though she jokes about him coming across space and time to ask her for a date, she tells him, "I'm not remotely interested." Which is a good move, because that's what they needed to do at this point in the show.
Mm-hmm. Well,
after the romantic entanglement with Rose, they needed to say we're going in a different direction.
Except the problem is they backtracked on that later.
They backtrack and they make it unhappy for us, because Martha is then pining after the doctor and he doesn't reciprocate.
I'm going to say they never backtracked. That it's here right from this scene. That it's very clear that despite whatever she says, she's already enamored with him. So she says, not that he says, not that you're replacing her. Never said I was. Just one trip. You get one trip, and I'd rather be on my own. Well, you're the one that kissed me, she says. And she has this glint in her eye where she kind of liked it. And then, she does the whole, you travel across the universe to ask me on a date.
That's a defensible interpretation. I think you could read it either way, but what they needed to do, I think, was signal we're going in a different direction.
Right.
And ultimately they didn't do that.
They retread. Yeah. And it's not, like you said, it's not reciprocal. The doctor is not, he's not interested in Martha. It's very clear. And so you have this unrequited love sort of thing going on, which is different from the doctor in Rose, whereas there was a romantic tension. And it's just...
And it also makes Martha, it sets up the fact Martha is the only companion in New Who to leave voluntarily.
Yeah. Right. Because she can't take it anymore and has to leave. And that's... I think that's one of the reasons why Martha only got one season, because I think it was a mistake that they recognized that they did. But I think it's also, I think it's why she's not also, she ends up down on the list of, most popular companions, because she's ultimately not satisfying.
Yeah, but which is sad because she's a great actress. I love watching her on screen. They just don't give her a satisfying part to play.
Right. There's a couple of episodes this season that are particularly good and that show up on people's lists of among the better episodes. There's the one where the doctor forgets his memory back in the what was it, the early 20th century. Yeah, Human Nature. People like that. That's actually was a two-parter, wasn't it? I think. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, Family of Blood is the other part of that.
Right. Yep. And some people there was elements of that people really liked, and she does a pretty good job in that one as being kind of being the competent one in that episode because the doctor's out of commission basically. But it's so I feel like you I think they mishandled Martha from the beginning, and they probably should have just went with Donna Noble from the Christmas special, and that it would have been much better in the end. But it's what we got. So, anything else you guys want to bring up about this? The episode's called Smith and Jones, and eventually she becomes Martha Smith Jones when she marries Mickey Smith.
Mickey, yeah,
yep, exactly.
So I thought that was kind of funny. So I guess that's it. That's it from us. So we'll ask you folks, as we always do, what did you think of this 10th Doctor story, Smith and Jones? What do you think of Martha Jones as a companion? What did where does she rank in your listing of companions? So we'd love to hear from you. Visit sqpn.com and leave a comment on the show posting there. Go to the Secrets of Doctor Who Facebook page where we always get great comments from you all when you have listened. Leave us some feedback there. Send us an email to doctorwho@sqpn.com. And we will read some of this on our upcoming podcast if you leave us some comments. You can find links to all our personal social media and websites on our show notes on sqpn.com. Now, this is usually when I tell you what we'll be doing next time, but I kind of want to preview where we're going in the near future. A new season of Doctor Who is coming, as you know. I'm sure you're aware, the 13th Doctor coming up in October. And we're preparing for that. And one of the ways we want to prepare for that is we want to look back at Peter Capaldi's 3 seasons as the Doctor.
So a retrospective on Peter Capaldi's Doctor.
We want to look at the work that the new showrunner, Chris Chibnall, has done both on Doctor Who and maybe some of his other work that you may be familiar with. He did the very well received Broadchurch as well, that had David Tennant starring in it,
and some very less well received Doctor Who episodes.
yes, we'll talk about those too. And then we'll have an episode where we're going to give our advice to Chris Chibnall on Doctor Who, because I'm sure he's waiting for that before he goes any further.
He needs it. He needs it.
No, not that the whole first season with Jodie Whittaker is already filmed. So we're going to have that. And then following that, in October, we're going to start doing the new episodes as they come up. We'll be doing an episode, talking about that every week. As new episodes with the 13th Doctor. And, I hope you stick around, and I hope you let other people know about it, about the Secrets of Doctor Who, and kind of get it out there, because, this is maybe the most controversial and maybe even the most consequential change in Doctor Who since New Who came back, and maybe since the, it might be saying too much to say back to the first regeneration. I mean, this is a huge change in Doctor Who here. And maybe folks would be interested in what a Catholic priest, a Catholic apologist, and a dad,
a Catholic dad,
have to say about it. I mean, it's there. I know that there are strong opinions all over the place, and I hope that that maybe some people will be interested in what we have to say. I feel like we have a generally balanced outlook on things, that we don't come into different episodes with a bias one way or the other. So I think maybe you'd find other people might find our opinions on it interesting as well. So all that said is please, share this podcast with others, let them know, and encourage them to subscribe as we move forward. So until next time, Jimmy Akin, thank you for joining me and sharing the Secrets of Doctor Who.
Thanks, Tom.
Father Cory Sticha, thank you as well.
And thank you.
And once again, I'm Tom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening. And remember, blow so full, do no crow, blow so row. I don't know what that means. I think I swore.
When will I see you again?
Soon, I expect. Or later. One of those.